Shalom, welcome to Eretz Israel. My name is Avraham Shira, and we're having a little talk here before the festival of Shavuot. Shavuot is the festival of the receiving of the Torah by the hands of Moses, by the mouth of God, and it's a tradition that this is a night that we stay awake all night and learn Torah and attach ourselves to the Creator of the universe. But something's going on in the world, and something has changed the world. And I think that change, we see it in the story of Moses and the receiving of the Torah. For what happened? 3,500 years ago, Moses went up on the mountain by the command of God, and he did not come down for 40 days. He was the leader of the people. He brought them out of Egypt, 3.2 million people, who were enslaved for 210 years. And they had very little autonomy and very little organization and very little understanding of their mission. But they had a leader, he had a prophet, and he did all these great miracles, and he took them out. He freed them from Pharaoh, the greatest power of the time, the emperor of the world, if you will. And he freed them. And they walked out of Egypt, and they walked through the desert, and they walked through the ocean, and they kept walking until they got to Mount Sinai. And then God gave Moses the command, come up on the mountain, I'm going to give you the Torah. Well, he forgot to give them a few details, that he was going to be gone for 40 days and 40 nights. The Torah tells us he didn't eat or drink or sleep for 40 days and 40 nights. Now, how can any human being do that? I know in the Far East, there are people that fast for long periods of time. And Rabbi Nachman tells us that a man can live on the power, the fuel of his own wisdom. That if you're that disciplined, you can survive with very, very little. But 40 days and 40 nights without eating or drinking or sleeping, the Torah tells us, well, Moses entered a transcendental state where his higher soul left his body and communed with God to receive not only the 5 books of Moses, but the entire Talmud, the entire corpus of Jewish literature that would be revealed in the future, first was downloaded into Moses. That took a little time. It took 40 days and 40 nights. And then when Moses came, but while Moses was gone, the people started to worry. Where is our leader? What are we going to do? And the people started to split up into groups. And there was the group that said, let's go back to Egypt. Moses has abandoned us. We can't go out in the desert. Let's go back. We have a better time to get along with Pharaoh. And then there were other groups that said, no, we have to stand by Moses. Moses did everything so far to bring us out in freedom. He saved us. He brought us water in the desert from a rock. Who else can do that? He brought us man from heaven, a divine cracker. How's that? And he brought them shelter from the sun with the clouds of glory. And he brought them a big torch at night so they wouldn't have to sit around in the dark, and be afraid of that. And suddenly he's gone. Now they still had those miracles even though he was gone. And so, but there was a camp that said, we need to stand by Moses. And then there was another camp who said, well, we don't know what we should do. Who do we turn to? We need somebody. Now this was the primary test. Moses is not God. And God essentially was giving the people a test. Would they turn to him instead of this amazing prophet, this person who had the power over nature to transform reality? In other words, God saying, now let's see you do it. Let's see you believe in me like Moses did. Well, the people found it a test that was very difficult to step up to. And so they were challenged. They were challenged even worse. Because the leader of the avenging angels, the leader of the great prosecution in heaven, we don't even say his name in the Kabbalah. The prosecutor that's looking for the bad in everything. He has power. He has psychic power. And what did he do? He put up an image in the sky. Now, it might have been in the mind's eye of the sky, or it might have been right out there on the horizon. But this angel, may his name be blotted from the earth, Because, God created all of the angels, and he created the potential for evil as well. But evil is only there to test us, to give us merit to choose good. Because when you choose good over evil, you become a divine being. And you become godlike by choosing good over evil. But if there's no evil, I can't choose. People don't like the evil. They don't even like the idea that their evil exists. But without it, we're not human because we don't have choice. So it has to exist. But why we curse this angel is because he doesn't only give us the test, he pushes people to fall. He pushes people to make the wrong decisions. And so he put this image in the sky of Moses dead on his funeral pyre. That they saw an image, 3.2 million people at the base of Mount Sinai, they saw an image of Moses dead on a bed. Now, what does that sound like? What did he have? A three-dimensional camera, a holographic projector that put this image in space? But who would believe such a thing? If Moses was going to die, was he going to die like that, flying around in a bed in space? It's like a cartoon. Do you believe in cartoons? But it was so provocative at that moment of fear, after 40 days and 40 nights that they didn't have Moses, and they didn't know what they were going to do. And remember, this is 3.2 million Jews. And as Ben Gurion once said, I'm the king of a million kings. Right? But aside from that, they forgot about their promise to get to the Holy Land. They forgot about the land of milk and honey. They were terrified. And so they had an opening in their mind to fall into believing the image, the false image in the sky of Moses' death. They went for the fake news. Oh no, Moses is gone. We got to turn back to Pharaoh. You think Pharaoh's going to take them back? Okay, come on back to Goshen, guys. We'll give you your houses back and jobs, and we'll make you can have straw when you make bricks now. You think Pharaoh's just going to take them all back after his whole army was drowned in the sea? But a lot of people believed in that image. And that image terrified them. But worse, the people lost their unity, their belief in their national mission, their purpose, their mission statement. The United States, where I grew up, they have a constitution. It's a mission statement. We're going to be different than England, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and all the other fiefdoms and imperial powers. What they became is what they became. But when people lose their mission statement, even if my mission statement is just to get up in the morning and go to work and come home and pay my bills and make sure my wife and kids are happy, that's still a very high, proven way of building self-esteem, that I have a mission statement here. I'm taking care of other human beings in this world. And it's not an easy thing to do. Well, the Jews got a little bit more broad mission statement, right? Their mission statement is to carry the Torah around for 3,500 years, teaching about the one God. And people have not been terribly receptive to the idea, as you've seen throughout history. But because they lacked unity, the hole was made, the opening was made for the evil to make that incursion, to present that false image of Moses dead. And now we're a nation without a leader, and then we lose our mission, and we lose our compass. And even though there's other prophets in the camp, well, he's not Moses, we can't listen to him. He's not the real deal. So this fake news, my friends, this system of generating fear by a false image is not a new story. It's happening today. There are different camps all over the world. Nobody knows what to do. Do we treat the virus this way? Do we treat it that way? Do we believe these doctors? Do we believe those doctors? Do we believe these newsmen? Do we believe those newsmen? Which politicians are true and who aren't? You hear what I'm saying? The world is broken up into pieces. but there's something behind it. Because when human beings have unity, they are powerful and they stick to the truth. And God favors the majority over any minority. That's true when the rabbis sit and form a halacha, a legal decision, the majority rules the day. Even though the individual might be a brilliant genius, bigger than all the others together. But the rule is that the majority decides the path of any mitzvah, any command of God, and any new practice that's being brought into the world. But when a few individuals can suddenly manipulate the majority, well, then we're in trouble. And so right now, today, besides the fact that we're all in different camps and different groups and different religions and different countries and different politics and different economics, we also see a terrible lack of leadership. Here in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, we don't even have a prime minister. We've had 3 elections, and who knows what's going to be. After 3 elections, they put the one guy who's elected up for charges. He received gifts in office. The rest of the world is laughing. Look at the Jews. They're putting their own leader on trial for receiving some gifts. If you go to China, the idea of giving gifts is the first thing you do when you form a business or political relationship. Giving gifts is accepted as a way of a diplomatic lubrication. How's that? A new phrase. Aye. But if I don't like the leader, I can find something against him. I think you get the picture. But let's look at what we're talking about in a bigger picture. Without this leader, who takes over? Who takes over the Jewish people? Well, it's the one who has control of the image. The one who projected the image of Moses dead into the people's minds. The one who runs the rumor mill. The one who sets up the fake flag operation. They take over hidden power. They're not going to come out and show themselves, but they have the power because they're ruling the people through fear. And that fake flag image worked at Mount Sinai when the Jews got the Torah. Why? Because that hidden agenda, which is called the mixed multitude, in Hebrew it's the Erev, the mixed multitude, they said, look, folks, we just need a new God. Forget about Moses and his God. We have a new God. Give me all your gold and silver and we'll make a golden calf. What a great solution. We'll represent, we'll praise, we'll bow down to a golden image. And that will be our new God, and we'll be fine out here in the desert. And every time we need something, we'll talk to our golden calf. Can you believe that people bought that? Now, there are high-level types of occult practices that are still extant today that can make statues and images do things that are wow the people. You can look it up in any bookstore. But the people were so desperate for a leader, they fell for it. They said, okay, we'll go back to the old gods of Egypt. We know in Egypt they served the calf and they served the Nile and they served the snakes and they served the alligators. They had plenty of gods. The jackals, I think, also. The dog worshippers. So what happens? They make this golden calf. But first they give up all their money. Sound familiar? Interesting idea? It's not just that we're going to be the leader, the new underground leader of you Jews in the desert because Moses is gone. You're going to pay for it. With all your gold and silver. And they paid. They paid dearly. And the whole point was to take the people's mind off of receiving the Torah. Because Moses didn't go up to the mountain because he needed a vacation. He went to receive this ultimate document to guide the nation. And that was such a big thing that the other side, the side what we call evil, needed to distract them from their mission was to be patient. All they had to do was sit there and be patient. And Moses would show up again, but they couldn't be. They fell. They lost their faith at the moment of patience. And if you see, this is a theme that's throughout the Bible, that people that are given the potential for great gifts and blessings have to first go through tremendous tests of patience. It could be in having children like the patriarchs. All the patriarchs waited dozens of years before they had children. Or it could be the people who waited to found this country. Hundreds of years. And it could be many stories that there are throughout world literature, for that matter, about people that before they received a great blessing, they had to go through a tremendous test of patience. And this was happening at Mount Sinai, which tonight we're going to celebrate. And hopefully we'll have patience to get through, the 20 folks that show up at the table, because most of Israel now is not under the same rules as the world is. I'm in touch with my friends and family in America and elsewhere, and people are still under the terrible quarantine conditions. And I think the loneliness is the greatest tool to split people up and to push people past their mental capacity for suffering. Wonder why that's happening. All right. And so, well, we know the rest of the story. That they made the golden calf, they worshipped it, they drank a little wine, they partied a little bit. And then what happened? Moses came down. And he heard the noise in the camp. And he understood this is no worship of God. And eventually he broke the tablets, the 10 Commandments, which were the symbols of the entire Torah. And then they took the golden calf and they ground it into dust. And the Midrash teaches us that after they ground the golden calf into dust, they mixed it with water and they made people drink from it. And anybody who had served it sincerely, a miracle was done and their face turned green. And then the people that let them make the golden calf were given the job to put to death the people who had served it. In other words, if you're in the camp and people do evil, you can't just turn your back. If you're in the camp and they're bowing down to an idol, you cannot just walk away. We are mutually responsible for each other. That's part of our unity. That's part of our strength. That I care about what happens to you. And hopefully you care about what happens to me. And if I do something wrong, I want my friends to tell me. And so the people that served the idol, because only 3,000 were told served out of 3 million, it's not bad numbers, right? 1%. Or is that 0.1%? Yeah, it's 0.1%. Not a lot of people. But those 3,000 that actually participated in the worship, those were that mixed multitude that had advised making the calf. So you see, who ultimately becomes the victim of the false flag operation is the people who make the operation. You understand? If I blow up a skyscraper in my city, who's going to suffer? The people I blame? Well, eventually, no. The people who made the explosion in the first place. People think that they can just do what they want in the world. They can blow up the Twin Towers and get away with it because they'll blame a bunch of Saudi Arabian pilots, like as if they had the ability to organize that mission, as if they had the ability to send a plane into the Pentagon. Are you kidding? The people that let it happen are responsible. And that's true individually for all of us. And it's true for nations, and it's true for the Jewish people in the desert. And so Moses made them all drink from that gold and silver dust. and they turned green, and then the swords came out. Now, it's a pretty brutal way to deal with things. I don't think it would work too well today. However, the point is much more, my friends. Nobody would have believed in Moses dying if they had a little support, if they had a little bit of belief, a little bit of faith in what they were doing. But there was a breaking in the faith. And when you break your faith, you are vulnerable to fear, whatever it is, at every level. And because they were desperate and they lost their faith, they believed in an image. And the image can also be numbers on a screen telling you how many people die from a disease that we can't even track. No, this disease does kill people. But how many? And where? And by whom? And who's vulnerable? So the false flag is the information that's used to create fear around it. Understand this well. And this fear is being used against us. Now, this mixed multitude that made the golden calf, they're the same ones that heckled Moses every step of the way. They laughed at him about bringing out water from the rock. They laughed at him about splitting the sea. They said, let's go back to Egypt then. And there are those types of people today everywhere. Because they don't really believe in the one power for goodness in the universe we call God. You can call it the Creator. You can call it any name you want. But it is the single unified power that pre-existed all reality. And the people that don't believe in that, they become the opposition by believing in all the other things. Now, I'm not even saying it's conscious. Because they fall into fear themselves. And what are these fears? Well, you know the fears. The fears of an asteroid striking the planet. Oh, that means we need to spend billions of dollars to learn how to blow up an asteroid in space. Oh, the fear of global warming. Well, the planet does seem to be getting warmer. Continents do seem to be shrinking. There seems to be big ice cubes out there in the Arctic, right? The North Pole is no longer a North Pole. It's a North Sea. It's true, the planet seems to be getting warming in places, but in other places it's cold. Oh, well, we got to tax everybody for carbon. More fear. What's happening in Russia? You have a social credit system. You know, you turn the wrong way, you say the wrong thing, you're reported on national billboards. And we don't even have to talk about the Russian communist mentality, that they use the fear of people against their own neighbors, against their own family. That everybody became a spy on everybody. How do you think communism took root? Not because they loved Lenin or Stalin or Trotsky. They killed him. He was a Jew boy. No, they didn't rule because of the love of their system and the belief in what they were doing. They ruled because of the fear of the government, and the fear of retribution, and the fear of being spied on. You know, I visited Russia when it was still communist. It was pathetic. People were afraid to turn around. They'd grab you in an alleyway just to buy your jeans. But don't tell anybody how I got them, how they got them. Don't tell anybody you sold your jeans outside the airport in Moscow. Oy vavoy. So you see, fear is the real manipulated tool of all of history. And its antithesis is faith in God. So it's a real simple choice. And when we go to receive the Torah tomorrow, we're not receiving a document. We're receiving fearlessness. We're receiving our faith is not just to be, dummies who go walking to the synagogue. Our faith is to give us fearlessness against all these lies and the manufacturers of the lies and the manufacturers of the images. those red flags, those operations. Building number 3 just falling in the middle of Manhattan. That happens all the time, right? Buildings just crumble. Perfect demolition. Well, a few pieces of shrapnel fell from the other building and knocked it over. Yeah. Sure. And it just happens to be a building that has all the records of the FBI and a few other organizations. Isn't that interesting? It created a lot of fear in Manhattan that day. Everybody in the world was glued to the TV. Oh my God, look what's happened. Oh, it's Osama bin Laden and his stooges. Yeah, right. Okay, but we need more fears, folks. If you want to run the world, you need a lot of tools in your bag. So you need the fear of pandemics, the fear of diseases, the fear of hunger. There's not enough food. Look at the grocery stores. There's so much food, we have to turn the wheat white. We got to turn the rice white. The sugar. You can't even eat all the sugar and the wheat and the rice that's out there, at least around here. Maybe down south, 200 miles from here, we got Egypt. And then Africa, maybe they could use some of that. Is there a shortage of food on this planet? Is there a shortage of land on this planet? Is there a shortage of water on this planet? No. What there is a shortage of dedication to honest distribution. The new one, the great one is the alien deal. I love that. Fear the aliens. Now the NASA and the U.S. Air Force is even admitting there's UFOs out there. We don't know what they are, but we should be afraid of them, right? War of the Worlds. The aliens are coming. Another reason to be afraid, which is really to break your belief in the one who controls the whole story. And it doesn't matter, you're Jewish, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Hindu, Buddhist, Confucianist, animist, Druidist, whatever ism you like. All the power has one hierarchy of structure. So what does it lead us to is that the true idol, the true false idol of all idols, it's not a golden calf. It's not a statue of Lenin. It's not a picture of Mao, 5 stories tall. The true idol is fear itself. That people will worship anything besides to take responsibility, to have a relationship with something that we can't see or hear. And the truth is, you can see God if you know how to look, and you can hear Him if you know how to listen. But that takes about 20 years of discipline, right? You got to learn to meditate and pray and keep mitzvot and be a good human being. Being the good human being, I have to be a good human being to hear God? Why? That's too hard. And it's happening everywhere, this split, because that's the real goal of all this fear, is to split people into camps. To split people into camps and in order that they can be dominated, because as long as we don't have unity, there's going to be domination. And that's exactly what's happening in America. It's exactly what they're trying to do in Israel, but it doesn't work in Israel because the Jews are too smart and we're too dedicated to God. So, as you can see, our little talk got a little emotional. That's good because it's important now. Because we're going to receive the Torah tonight and tomorrow morning. And we're receiving fearlessness, folks. We're receiving confidence, self-esteem, pride. We're not receiving religious dogma. We're not receiving old-fashioned ideas from people that, well, they didn't quite get the big picture. Okay? The big picture is your one-on-one relationship with God and believing in Him. And that He loves you and He wants your good. But he has expectations in the relationship. Every relationship has expectations. You want to be my friend? We got to have rules. These are things I can't do. These are places I don't go. Every relationship has rules, and so does God. Why not? Let's follow the rules and see what that relationship is like, because that's where the real pleasure comes. That's where your heart fills. That's where your mind is bright. That's where you believe, and you can go fearlessly into this period we're in right now. I just got off the phone with people in California. It's like, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. People are turning on each other because they don't wear the mask right, or because they went in the car with somebody who came from somewhere else, and then I can't go in your car. Oh, you can't sit at my table. You have to sit over there. So the fear is working, and we got to catch it, at least in our own hearts. And we can. Just by one step. The step of saying, there is something in control much bigger than anything human, and bigger than any conspiracy and any group of conspiracies or any group of nations or any billionaires hiding behind the curtains. No. Their power will be gone when it's time. The real power is in the heart of our connection to Hashem. And our God is not going to let us down, because His name depends on us. Our success and His success are codependent. If we don't succeed, God fails. The whole human experiment is a waste. We have to succeed for His name, for His glory. But we have to pay a price. And that's belief, faith, dedication to the Torah. So I want to bless everyone to receive the Torah like it's the first time you ever heard of it. This new relationship, this new partnership, and it's really a business deal. You keep my laws, I'll keep your back. You take care of my land, I got you covered on every angle. And we've seen it over and over throughout Jewish history. God will not let us down, ever. So let's not let Him down. Let's take on what we can, day by day. You don't take the whole Torah on in one day. You take it on one day at a time, one mitzvah at a time, one moment at a time, one advice at a time. So God bless you all. We'll look for you next week after the Chag on Patreon, on YouTube, Facebook, all the outlets. And hopefully we'll see something different next week with the new reception of the Torah on the Jewish people and the great world at large. All the best. Shabbat Shalom, Hag Sameach.